I watched with Amber Heard. There were two basically large scale groups that were talking about it: behavior artists or behavior analysis individuals and lawyers, and some entertainment channels, or a lot of entertainment channels too. But I've seen several lawyer types completely dismiss the art of behavior analysis. Notice I called it an art. That's because the behavior artist, who has two YouTube channels, he goes by Spidey as his stage name, who also has one of his mentor who's on the behavior panel, also says the same thing. The function of behavior analysis is not reading your mind, and it has limitations for a couple of reasons. One, your attempt at persuasion may give you tells, even if you're not necessarily lying, because you are trying to persuade somebody. Lying is trying to persuade somebody of something that's not true. So you may attempt to gather sympathy, empathy by making eye contact or the like, when that's not your baseline. Even if you are telling the truth, that attempting to have commonality with the person you're trying to persuade may look similar in both cases. Also, somebody being accused of something will have multiple stressors. And if you ask them about their day before being interrogated, they may not have those stressors. When discussing the interrogation, they're going to have stressors. But we know behavior analysis works because that's how actual con artists do what's known as a cold read. They get more information out of you by watching your behavior, analyzing what you're doing, and making educated guesses to get you to do what they want. This is how magicians also do cold read when they tell you they're doing a magic trick. Now, sometimes a magic trick, they'll tell you they're doing behavior analysis when they're using things such as force, which is another method of manipulating you through understanding human behavior, or just straight up making you having multiple outs. In other words, they'll tell you they're doing one method of doing the trick, but they're doing other ones. One of the ways they attempted to test behavior analysis is by telling people they were guilty of a crime that never actually happened, they were not a part of, regardless of who they were, and they had to try to fool this person into believing they weren't guilty of that particular crime, or they were guilty of that particular crime when they actually weren't. So the stressors wasn't always real. The people that were innocent were actually innocent. The people that were guilty were still actually innocent. And it was an artificial situation in which the stressors that would have been necessary to try and get the best analysis of the situation was flawed. Now, I don't read studies for fun. There may be other studies. Here's the thing. The people that actually do behavior analysis don't necessarily read studies specifically on how people read behaviors per se, but actually read studies on patterns that you can detect. You can get a baseline and patterns that may indicate lying or indicate stressors, and how you can differentiate between different stressors. But as humans, our behaviors are often patterns, and not everybody's pattern is identical. There may be and just having one indicator of deception, again, this is what Spidey's talking about, is not proof of deception. It is only one indicator. Combined with other patterns, what they can definitively say is, this can indicate this. And by using that as probable cause, as a starting point, you can, in real-world practical applications such as law enforcement, you can actually go through and say, hey, we caught this person not telling the truth here, here, and here, or this seemed odd the way they answered this here, here, and here, or their behavior changed here, here, and here, there's a place to look. And when you go to court and say, hey, here's how I got this skill, here's my skill, here's how I use the skill. Now, getting somebody on the stand to call somebody else a liar based solely off this skill is a dangerous proposition, is questionable. It's similar to lie detectors. The problem with lie detectors is they can give a false positive, they can give a false negative, so even if they were as high as 75% accurate, I would say 75% is not reasonable doubt. So when somebody tells you that these things have no valid purpose, they're wrong. If they're telling you that this is settled science and it's proof because somebody saw somebody look a different way, that is wrong. Somebody might look down to the left, down to the right, down to the left because they're lying. Somebody could do that because while they're trying to read their memories, thinking about their memories, that's where they keep their library of memories. It's things like that that make it difficult to 100% say that this is usable or not usable.